What is going on, guys? Welcome back. My name is Brian and you're watching Flake Garage, where we do a lot of DIY tutorials, videos on mini trucks, or showcase other cool cars that we can get our hands on. And today we're gonna have a update video on my 88 Mazda. I'm gonna talk to you guys about what's changed since our last video, some of the small little updates that I've done to it. Also, we're gonna talk a little bit more about the idling issue that I was having. I thought I figured out what the problem was with the whole idling, and then it kind of just confirmed some of my theories with the factory carb. So we'll talk about those. And then we'll also talk about some of the parts that we just received that we were waiting on, so then we can move on to the next series of videos with this truck. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright guys, and we are gonna start with some of the small changes that's happened. If you watched my last video, you might remember that I didn't have a shift knob. We put the nice one we got from Roger here. It looks a lot better, looks really nice. We also updated and put the new console in here. It's still a little bit dirty. I'm gonna have to take that one out and paint it, or try to clean it a little bit better than it is right now. I just slapped it on there so we wouldn't have just an empty space. Another thing we did was add our mirror. Look at that, we have a new one. We have a little thing here that was given by my girlfriend, but look at that, we have this one. I think is even fancier than the one I have on my red truck, because the one on my red truck does not have this little lever, but the back of it is kind of pretty sun burned and worn out, so we might have to also paint it on the back, but for right now it's working fine. We got that in there. We have a center console, not like the one on my red truck, but it helps definitely keep a drink in here and not have it be flying all over the place. And that's also gonna lead me to one of the other issues that we have with the truck. I noticed that my seat was a little bit wobbly. It seemed to move forward and whatnot. So then when I started looking here at the bolts that hold it in place, we have that one fine, but then I noticed that we have the one on the back missing. And it's pretty much the same thing on the passenger side. It's just reversed. We have the one on the front missing, and then the one on the back is in place. So I don't know why or how they managed to strip this bolt, but basically the factory bolt that goes in there does not fit. I had spare ones for my parts truck, and I cannot get it to tighten up. So I got a, let me pull it out here. We got a nice little tap and die set here. We're gonna remove the seat and then try to make those grooves back in place, because we definitely want to have this being held in place how it's supposed to be. I don't think I'm gonna be switching the bench seat out of this truck. I think we're gonna keep it as is, but I wanted to be secure right on the back, and on the passenger I wanted to be secure right on the front. If we move on to the outside really quick, you might notice that now I don't have the big factory Mazda rear view mirrors here. I went and switched them into the small ones, and then for this part we basically just put the bolt back in place. I switched this from being this way just upside down to protect with the water. We'll figure out a way to make that look nicer, or a way to plug it a little bit later. I think for right now it works fine. There's no water getting into it. This part also works a little bit better because, sorry guys, might be a little bit dark, because the way it was before, it was kind of open. The plastic was broken, so it was a little more open in there. So now let's move on and talk about the idling issue. So if we move on here to the engine, so as you can see here, I have no box already in there. So what happened was, the first time after I was messing with it, I put everything back on, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take the old box, the air box, out of there and then see how it runs. And it actually ran fine. I took it to work. I think I posted some clips on Instagram about it. So then it seemed like, at least at that time, this is what was causing this whole idle issue. And it was actually making it die. It was making it bog down and not kick on. And then after I removed it and I ran the truck without it, it was working pretty good for the most part. I mean, not perfect, but pretty good. Obviously, this is not the best way to go. You don't want the fuel or anything coming out. But then I also noticed, as I try to start it today, that this stock carburetor is definitely on its way out. So that again brings us to the next step, which I had talked about in our last video, but I ordered the rebuild kit for the carburetor. So let me show you here. Here we have this old carburetor, Weber carb. Here are some of the parts that go with it, and then here we have finally the pieces that I was waiting, so I can go ahead and rebuild this. So now that we finally got the pieces here in place, now that I finally got them with me, I can then move on to opening this, cleaning this as best as I can, and then rebuilding it with these parts here. I can link you guys to this one if you want. There's also a great video by another YouTuber that he went into detail on how to take this Weber carburetor apart. So I don't think there's a need for me to do one because his is very comprehensive, very easy to follow. So I'll link you guys to that one too as well. And guys, just when I was telling you about I only had 2 good bolts, I think it turned out to be actually just 1. So I was over here basically taking this bolt out, and turns out that one is just as stripped as the other 3. So not only do we have basically just 1 bolt, so this one's stripped, this one is also stripped, and then the back one on that side is stripped as well. So we are left with basically just 1 bolt that actually works, which means I'm gonna have to use the tap and die set on all of those 3, and then go up a size on bolts. Check it out, guys. You just saw me make the tap into the all worn out, basically strip holes here, and the tap I'm using right now out of the kit is the, let me see if I can find it here, is the M10 1.25. That's gonna be really hard to see in there. I can barely see it with my eyes, but it's M10 1.25. That's the one that made this threads. Now they're finally grabbing. It's not the best still. It still looks a little bit rough in there, but it actually catches on now with the bolt, also without stripping it. Look at this bolt real quick. Let me see if I can focus on it. Yeah, look at that. That looks fine. Check out the old bolt that came out of the passenger side. I mean, look at that. That is just absolutely stripped, completely worn out. It used to look like this one, and then that's how I took it out of the passenger side. But like I said, you just saw me, I threaded and both sides here, so they are all good to go. They're actually holding in the factory bolt in here. I didn't have to upsize, thankfully, to another one. It seems to be working fine with the M10. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the seat back in here and see if that's any better. This is gonna hold on for right now. It's obviously not the best solution. I think if you really wanted to do this properly, you probably need to somehow either cut that sheet metal out of there, maybe get a factory one and put it in place from a parts truck or something like that. That's something we could technically do if we wanted to just cut the one that I have on the parts truck and replace these whole pieces that were completely stripped for those. But for right now, it is holding onto the bolts. So once I put the seat back in there, we're gonna see if it feels secure, if it feels any better. It should be definitely better than having no bolt at all. But again, this is kind of more of a temporary thing. If you really wanted to do it right, like I said, you might want to either create a whole new bracket, maybe weld something in place that you're gonna put your seats onto on top of that. Just something to keep in mind, guys. But for right now, this is gonna do. So all the holes are nice and done. We're gonna go ahead and put the seat in here and show you what's next. So there you have it, guys. We have the seat all installed back in place. Now it's actually more secure. There's no loose bolts. That one is there and it's holding on in place. Nothing is moving. Same thing on the passenger side. We have both bolts actually holding the seat. So that's gonna be a lot better, a lot safer than just being in here with one bolt and then the other bolt that I thought was actually holding it in place, which turns out it was just completely stripped as well. Check it out, guys. And another thing I've been working on, especially with this one, or at least I was planning to do it with this one, was I wanted to mess with the turn signals and find a way to switch them into an LED, especially a sequential LED. So I'm working on that, but when I try to take the ones out of the truck, they literally disintegrate. I mean, look at that, that's all gone here. Here are still pieces of the one that was in there. So I'm waiting on brand new turn signals to get here so then I can actually proceed and move on to testing and trying to find some sequential LED way to put them in there, which I think is going to look really cool whenever it gets done, but we'll see how it comes out. I don't want to get you guys excited yet until I actually have some progress, but that's one of the plans right now on it. So there you have it, guys. This is just a quick short video. We did that just quick fix with the seat. Now we're going to be more secure, more planted in place instead of kind of tilting and moving as we come to stops or we start speeding up. Our next step, now that we finally got the parts in place, is going to be to rebuild this Weber carb so we can go ahead and remove that old factory one, put that one in place. Like I said, lots of little changes, lots of stuff coming up, guys. We've just been busy the past couple of days, so it's been taking us a little bit, mainly waiting for some parts to come in. But now that we have them here, we're gonna go ahead and get on it. So again, short video, nice and sweet. Hopefully you guys like what we're doing. If you find this interesting, go ahead and hit that like button or hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. And hopefully we'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.